Birds of Prey, and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. This movie is directed by Kathy Yan and written by Christina Hodgson. It stars Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn and Ewan McGregor as Roman Sionis, aka Black Mask. I do have quite a lot of mixed feelings about this movie, so let's start with the positives. Margot Robbie, as she did in Suicide Squad, she absolutely kills this role. She found a way to really bring the animatedness of her character to life in a much more vivid way than she did in Suicide Squad in this movie. Ewan McGregor looks like he's having a fantastic time as Roman Sionis. He's really not given much to work with other than the basic outlines of your villain type character, but he plays it to such like a B movie level extreme that you kind of really want out of a villain like this, that you can't help but feel the joy he's having in embellishing himself in such a nasty role. Because they really didn't hold back on his character. Like Roman Sionis he's a nasty dude. He's somebody that you would fear if you knew he existed in real life. I wouldn't want to be on his bad side. This movie has a lot of spectacle to it, and not like the CG spectacle. Like they really brought in the practicality that a lot of people have kind of been craving for movies like this, comic book movies. There's tons of color. There's one sequence in particular that I really enjoyed in the middle of the movie that, how can I put this? So there's one sequence in the middle of the movie that they show off in the trailer where she's breaking in and somewhere and holding somebody up with a shotgun, and there's a bit of a spoiler that she went with a pretty dangerous weapon, but it's kind of comical at the same time, and it led to a really nice set piece that you just don't get very often. It was really nice. Like this movie is a visual treat. There's a lot to enjoy in that area. As for the Birds of Prey themselves, unfortunately, they kind of take a back seat in this movie, unfortunately. So Journey Smollett-Bell plays Dinah Lance, aka Black Canary. She probably has the biggest appearance in this movie out of all the Birds of Prey, because she's a featured singer at Roman Sionis' club. Her character is easily given the most to work with out of all of the Birds of Prey in this movie, and she really nailed this role. She was very good. I'd like to see more from her. So then we have Rosie Perez as Renee Montoya, who, in my eyes, will always be an underutilized character because I'm personally a fan of her alter ego in the comics, that she becomes the second question. There are no inklings of that in this movie, so if you're a fan like I am, I kind of highly doubt it, because he's one of those like D-level characters that not a lot of people know about. So don't get your hopes up in thinking that you'll see any type of hint of her alter ego, because there's just none had in this movie. And then third on the list of the Birds of Prey is Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Helena Bertinelli, aka the Huntress. So she's given the least amount of time, which is a big shame because her character is probably one of the most interesting in the whole movie. But that's because she's essentially like a DC's female Punisher. It's a quick way to sum that up. And, they really rushed through her backstory in this, which would have been a little bit better if we gotten to spend more time with her. But it's just everything, like, you leave the movie wanting more of her the most. And then there's Ella J. Bosco as Cassandra Cain. I'm vaguely familiar with her character in the comics, but they gave no inkling to any direction of what type of alter ego she's going to have in this movie universe. She's had quite a few in the comics. She's currently goes by the codename Orphan, and she works in Gotham City as part of the Bat family. There's a lot of good material there, so you should go and check all those comics out if you're interested. She's definitely got a pretty unique story to her, and I myself am not familiar with all the details. I've only picked up pieces from here and there, especially with the new Rebirth stuff that's been going on. But back to the movie. And then there's Chris Messina as Victor Zsasz, who he does the best he can with the material he's given, but he plays very well off of Ewan McGregor, and you ultimately find his character, pretty believable for the stale cracker that he is. Not his performance, just the character archetype itself and the little material that we're given about him. So he plays it up like Ewan does, in the same sense, but not in the same way, and they play very well off of each other. Yeah, while there is a lot of good acting and spectacle and like a great blend of practical sets, practical effects, and some CG used to bring it all together, there are some shortfallings in this movie that unfortunately don't go unnoticed, and the big one being the story just not being very good. It's not bad. It's just not overly compelling. Mainly because we kind of want to see that breakup with her and Joker happen, and the Joker is not in this movie, so we don't get to see any of that. We only see her perspective after the breakup has happened, and that story beat right there. I think would have been a lot more interesting for people, even if we just got it as like a 10 minute prologue in the beginning. I think really could have helped serve this movie well. As I said earlier, the characters are pretty one note. Fortunately, the studio got fantastic actors to fill the roles, so they play them up pretty well to the point that we still believe this is a real world ish. So I think that they were aware of the basics of their story and characters, and they tried filling that hole with a lot of visual spectacle for us, and they did it. And they did it in a way that we've kind of been craving, even if it hasn't been very loud and vocal for like a lot of practical effects. They blend it all very well together with CG. Like this movie very much has painted itself like a comic book. And, I'm not saying that as a knock to it. It very much knew what it was and what it wanted to be. I just unfortunately don't feel like it's worth the full ticket price of a movie theater experience. While it does deserve to be seen on the big screen, I believe, I would try and catch it like an early matinee, a discount day, or if you have one of the new theater subscriptions going on at any of the theaters, use that to check it out, because there is a lot of fun to have in this movie. It's just not. It doesn't take itself as seriously as Batman v Superman or Justice League or even Suicide Squad did. So and that is, I believe, a positive towards itself. I don't want every movie like that in the DC EU specifically, or DC movies, to all be like that. I want them to all kind of find their own tone, because I don't want them to have that like synonymous tone that Marvel has established over every of their movies, where there it does bring a blandness to it over time, because they all start to feel the same. There's yet their visual spectacle might be different in a sense, but the tone of it all still stays the same, and it brings a staleness to that over time. And I hope DC stays away from that and changes up their tones throughout every movie, and allows every movie to be what it needs to be for the character, the story, I think they did very well here in that regard for Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. As a side note, if you do go and check this out at theaters, you'll probably see it listed as Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. And they say that they have done this for SEO reasons for the internet. If you're familiar with SEO, then I don't need to explain it to you. But if you're not, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and they did it to say, they say that they did it to help them with their search results. So we'll see if it helped. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please subscribe and check out more of my channel. See ya.